So our next speaker is Mr. Ronald Derks. He is the focal point World Alliance of Cities Against Poverty at the United Nations Development Programme. Mr. Ronald Derks is currently working and graduated with a bachelor degree in Dutch law from the University of Utrecht, and then focused on his work for the city of Rotterdam. Here he fulfilled different roles as team manager and project leader until he started his MCA degree in urban studies at Netherlands School of Public Administration. Since then, he has been working at the UNDP for the Geneva focal point for World Alliance Network of Cities, and has united under the name of World Alliance of Cities Against Poverty. The objective of this network is to improve access to basic services such as water, energy, housing and education in cities in developing countries. Today he is here and will be speaking on the topic World Alliance of Cities Against Poverty's Safe, Smart and Sustainable Cities. Please, ladies and gentlemen, give a warm round of applause for Mr. Ronald Derks.
To the middle, because otherwise I'll be turning my head every... If you're comfortable there, I'll just make sure to look at you every now and then. Okay. Well, thank you for the nice introduction. It's my pleasure to tell you something about my work with UNDP in Geneva. Basically, let's say I like to have it as interactive as possible, but I don't know how your energy level is. So I will ask you some questions, and if you don't respond, I will just suck it up and keep talking. Okay. I'm gonna address a few topics. I'm gonna address the topic of urbanization. Then I'm gonna talk something more specifically about the work that we do with the World Alliance of Cities Against Poverty, in short, WACAP. And then let's go into the links with cultural diplomacy and sustainable development a bit more. If you have any questions at any point, please just stop me and I'll try to answer your question. I think this is clear, right, with the mic? Okay. It sounds a bit hard to me, but usually my voice carries a long way. As you may be aware, the world now is becoming more and more urban. Nowadays there are more people living in urban areas than in rural areas. And the prediction is that by 2050, 70% of the people will be living in cities. This means that cities are faced with enormous challenges. The expanding populations, they put a strain on the infrastructure. We have very limited technical expertise and tools to deal with these issues. Worldwide, there are 1 billion people that suffer from hunger. There are 884 million people that do not have access to safe, fresh water. There are 2.5 billion people, 2.5, that's more than 1 in 3 people, that do not have access to basic sanitation. If you think about these numbers, to me, well, numbers usually don't say much, but this is astonishing. And I think this is actually, I have to be nice, I cannot use bad language, right? But it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace that we in this time are not capable of providing everybody in the world with access to basic sanitation. We do have the resources, we do have the knowledge, we have the money. We just don't know how to get it to them. Or maybe we do know, but we don't want to take the extra step. If you look specifically at cities, there are, within cities, 1/3 of the people live in slums. In Africa, it's even worse. 60% of the people that live in cities in Africa live in slums. I'm trying to give you the context of my work here, but it's going to be more positive soon. Now, there are 1 billion 1 billion children living in cities around the world. They are very close to energy, to water, to sanitation, but somehow they're still very far away from it. They do not have access to it. A lot of them do not have access to these basic services, which means that they are very open to malnutrition, to waterborne diseases, to trafficking, to violence. They're all related to having access to these basic services, let's say the basics rights to the life in the city. Now, let's say there's also a positive point in here, because now 75% of all economic development happens in cities. That means that the cities provide the people that come to the cities or are already there with the opportunity to jobs, to education, to whatever. It's there. Stuff happens in the cities. It happens. So if the people are there and there's a great opportunity, I like what Ms. Jones just said about the focus on the economic role of women, because let's say women are 50% of the population, and I believe that if we can make sure that they also in cities can fulfill their potential and have access to all the services that, well, men should have, we can make a big jump in development. Not directly connected to cities, but very important, is to understand the globalization. It's easier now with the technology. The world is becoming interconnected. The ambassador just told us about Facebook, right? It's easy to, you can talk to anywhere, anyone. So that opens up possibilities. For us, for WACAP, we focus on the role of the local authorities. We understand that the UN institutions, the national governments, civil society, private sector, and academia have a very, very important role to play in sustainable development within cities. But the key players are the local authorities. They understand what it's like in the field. They have the connections, or they should have the connections, with the grassroots organizations. They're in a position to develop policies and to implement programs that can really make a difference for those people that are involved. Well, a short step already to cultural diplomacy. We cannot do it, or they cannot do it by themselves. If you want to make a change for people, you have to do it with people. That's one of the last remarks by Ms. Jones, right? Ask the people, ask the women, what do you want? What is it? If, for example, it's a bad example actually of what UNDP did in a town in Niger. There was there was no access to water. There was no well, so the women had to walk for 10 kilometers every day to get the water. What happened? There was the local authorities, an NGO, a donor. They decided, well, it would be good for the women to have access to water. So what did they do? They fixed the problem. They built a well, but they didn't take into consideration, let's do the first question, is there a problem? And yes, if there is a problem, what could be the solution? Because what happened is the women, well, I don't think they really spoke up because of the, let's say, the culture, but we robbed them of their opportunity to have some time away from their husbands. Because in that specific village, in that context, the culture was that the women needed to stay at home, in their own home, taking care of the kids, taking care of the household, and very, very little interaction with other women. So their walk back and forth to the well, it was far, 20 kilometers, that's a long walk, but at least they had some social interaction with other women, talking about their issues, talking about their insecurities, or just small talk. They had a life. they had a complete life. Say, 'cause working at the house is part of a good life, of course, but they had a complete life. And now by building this well, with having the best intentions, we rob them of the right to part of their life. It would have been so easy just to ask them, hey, I see, just to go in. First you have to understand, of course, like you said, who do we send? What do we ask? How do we interpret their answers? Because they probably won't say, no, we need some time away from our husbands. Please, don't build a well. But I'm sure there could have been a better solution. But okay, I'm drifting off. That's what I do. So please, if I see your faces drift off as well, then I'll try to go back to the topic. We have half an hour in total, right? Okay. Okay, the local authorities. Let's go back to the UN institutions for a bit. For me, what's the added value of organizations such as UNDP, UN Habitat, UCLG, is that we can provide the local authorities with a network and with access to institutions, funding, resources that they would normally not find, because if you're from a little town in Burkina Faso, how would you know where to reach these people? How would you know how to get more information about your water and sanitation system? Or how would you be able to create a partnership with the city of Dublin in Ireland and a local water company? So I think it's great that we have this tiered structure from the international level, national, local, but as I said before, the focus should be on the local. They are what counts. If I'm sitting here in my office in Geneva and I'm thinking about great plans how to improve the world and save the world, that's great, but nothing happens unless it's related to the field. Walk up, that's what I do. The World Alliance of Cities Against Poverty. If I have to explain it to people in short, well, to my 6-year-old niece, I would say I talk to people and I make them talk to each other. And it sounds very easy, right, if you say it like that. But in essence, it's quite complicated. Because I have to try to bridge between the UN, between the local authorities from all over the world with different mindset, different interests, different cultures. They don't trust me from the start off because I'm here in Geneva, I'm far, far away, I have to earn their trust. So what I do is I talk a lot. I try to understand what their needs are. I try to ask them, what is it that I can do for you? I go away from the traditional, let's say, government or UNDP. Well, it was just mentioned, I'm going to be frank here. UNDP has the same mindset. We think we are very important. We think that we should tell people what's good for you. Of course, I'm generalizing now, right? But so I try to stay away from that and to ask people, what is it that I can do for you? How can I be of help to you? And the results are amazing. People open up. They come with all these crazy ideas sometimes. And then it's up to me to see if I can link it to some existing policies, because, well, you have to be able to fit it within the bigger framework. Or if I know a city that is interested in partnering with them, or if I have connections within civil society or within the private sector. But that's my job, to bring it together, and to make sure that everybody speaks up, is not ashamed or held back by say, trying to not offend people, because that's what happens a lot. People are trying to be nice to each other all the time. And I don't believe that cultural diplomacy should be about being nice to each other all the time. It should be about being honest to each other all the time. And sometimes being honest means telling someone, I'm sorry, what you say is wrong, or I disagree, and this is why I disagree. and this is how we can go on from here. So, yeah, that's talking to people. That's what I do. We also have a more technical story. That means that the World of Alliance of Cities Against Poverty is a network of 910 cities. We promote city-to-city cooperation. We try to link the local authorities with all stakeholders. So the private sector and civil society have an enormous part in what we do. It's difficult to get them involved because they have their own agenda, but we are constantly looking for common ground. I think what sets WACAP apart from other networks, because there are a lot of networks when it comes to cities, is our link with UNDP. UNDP has 170 country offices. These country offices have links with all the local stakeholders, with the authorities, with civil society, with the private sector. So what we can do is that we can translate the demands and the needs of all the cities to concrete actions. That brings me to, we'll be organizing a forum in Dublin in February, and it's about make cities safe, smart, and sustainable. The basic assumption, it's about sustainable development. We say if you want to create a city that's livable and that enables people to enjoy the right to the life in the city, you have to make sure that you address the economic, the social, and the environmental aspect of sustainable development. For us now, that translates into safe, smart, and sustainable. That's not the only way to look at this issue, but well, you have to start somewhere. There's so much to do, so we focus on this part now. For the safe part, that's mainly, we say safe cities. We have a partnership with UN Women. They have a Safe Cities program, which is an amazing program. They work with 13 cities all over the world, and it's really demand-driven. The main focus is how do we address sexual harassment against women. The assumption is a safe city for women is a safe city for everyone. At the same time, well, we all know, and it's been addressed before, that the opportunities of men and women are not equal. We as men, we can say, well, get over it, or you could, if you want, you could do it. No, it's not like that. And I'm not an expert on gender, but I understand that it's a delicate issue, and that it also has to have a place within cities. So the Safe Cities program, for example, they make a link with SMART. They have this initiative in New Delhi, where women, if they feel harassed, and then I say feel on purpose, because it's a perception. If you say you feel unsafe, you are unsafe. So you don't have to prove that it's objectively unsafe. No, if you feel unsafe, it's unsafe. So as a local authority, you have the obligation to do something about it. But what they do, they have a text messaging system. So with just one smart dial, if you feel unsafe, you can send a text message that does two things. One, it alerts the police to come to that area, because with the technology they can say, okay, it's from that area, the police goes there immediately. There are local police officers nearby, and they go there. And the second thing is, it creates a database, it creates a map. So over a longer period of time, if you have the map of New Delhi, and there are certain areas that let's say that a lot of text messages come from these areas, you know as a local government, you know that you have the obligation, but also the possibility to look into the core issues there. What's happening there? Why are women unsafe? What can we do about it? Who can we involve? So to me, this is a perfect example of trying to integrate safe, smart, well, sustainable is maybe a bit further away here, but to integrate these three issues try to, as they say in UN, it's breaking down the silos. Well, I don't believe in silos. I don't believe silos are created by men and women, but by human. So look at the world as a system. Look at a city as a system. It's a complex system. It's a diverse system. But if you just target specific issues and try to have an integrated approach, I believe you can really make a difference in cities. See, I drifted off. I had some cards, but it's nonsense. What I like about the approach that the UN Women have in this program, and that we also have in WACAP, is that it's really results-based and action-oriented. So I'm going to steal a quote from my colleague Laura Capobianco from the Safe Cities program. She says, it's evidence-based, not ideology-driven. How great ideologies are. Please keep dreaming. Keep dreaming. That's what keeps me going every day. I want to be a bit naive. I still want to believe that we can make a better world. And I understand it's difficult, but please keep dreaming. Why give up the sky? Just go for it. And then understand that, well, reality is maybe a bit more difficult. Don't get frustrated, but so keep the vision, keep the dream, and make the connection with reality. So make sure that everything you do can be accounted for, okay? This is why we do it, and this is where it's leading to. This means for our forum in Dublin, we are disappointing some people. We have quite some interesting people that want to present something at our conference, but if they are not capable or willing to translate this theory or policy or whatever they have in abstracto, if they cannot translate it into something concrete that gives mayors of local authorities a tool to really make a difference in the city, we're not going to accept them. Yeah, I'll stop soon. So yeah, well, I've said it a couple of times before. For me, the most important thing is to link all these players, to link local authorities with all the local stakeholders, to make sure that they fit within the larger framework of the national constitution and needs and international organizations. But I would really make the case to focus on cities. You know, cities, I believe cities are the future, at least the foreseeable future. Cities are complex, they're diverse. Cities are faced with enormous challenges. But cities are also our biggest hope. I always try to say, what is it that you want, not what you don't want. So focus on what you want to achieve, and you may achieve it. So for me, I would say, if we from WACAP, if I'm able to, in a few cities, to have a small contribution to make a city safe, smart, and sustainable, then I'm a happy man. And I will stop now, because I've been talking too much.
So does anybody have any questions for Mr. Derks? Maybe about his work at the UNDP? Yeah, if we just go over to him.
Candice House from the Global Sustainability Institute in the UK. Thank you for such an interesting talk. I'm wondering, a lot of the examples you gave were really from the developing world, and coming from the UK, what could a city like London or Cambridge do to sort of help lead the way and maybe share best practice? Mm-hmm.
Well, for example, Dublin is a very important partner at this point. Well, they can share best practices. Let's say, because Dublin really focuses as technology as a driving force behind development. So they have specific tools that they can showcase and share with local authorities in developing countries. They could also create partnerships involving the businesses from Dublin to set up partnerships also with local businesses in the developing countries. We don't only want them to go in and invest, we want them also to do some capacity building. We want them to develop some businesses. Well, judging by the last presentation, we want them to develop some women-based businesses. So they could share best practices, but at the same time, they could also learn from developing countries, because they also face challenges. The city of Dublin, for example, they are really concerned how to make their city more accessible for elderly people or for disabled people. It could be that New Delhi has a fantastic approach to this issue. So it's really about interaction. We want to let go of the traditional north-south logic. At the same time, we understand that development costs money, and the money is usually more available in the developed world.
Okay, any more questions? We have time for one more, just about. No? In which case then, I would maybe conclude there, and if we could just give one more round of applause to Mr. Ronald Derks. Thank you.